piece of a really large vacant lot, and this is the actual building where a lot of the old chemicals were stored. And what used to happen many years ago was if you can still see the old railroad right here. So a train would come in, this was back during World War II, fully loaded with big drums of chemicals, a huge diversity of chemicals, so pesticides, volatile organic chemicals, and then they just take the drums and they would have, there's a few residents here who remember seeing this. They would just, with a hose, empty the drums out into smaller containers, really sloppy. You know, the hose is still running while they go from container to container, so a lot of chemicals just seeped right through the ground and ended up in the soils and the groundwater. Because some of these chemicals are volatile, they evaporate, and the soil gas underneath homes can contain some of this contamination. And then if the homes have, say, cracks in their foundation, or there's just different routes that the soil gas can slowly collect inside of a building. If we end up having to excavate this whole area, and if there's contamination that's underneath that house, which there very likely may be, and the only way to get to that contamination is to excavate it out, then we would have to permanently relocate that person because we would have to take down the house. So the reason why it's called Superfund is that there used to be a tax, and it was a tax on, I don't know if it was all businesses, but it was a business tax that was paid, and that tax was put into a fund that anytime we found contamination that was then listed on the national priorities list and became a Superfund site, we could draw from that fund to clean it up. That tax was basically canceled, I think, under the Bush administration. And what that did was, it means we don't have a fund anymore. And in order to clean up contaminated sites, we either get the money from the responsible parties, the polluter basically. If we can't get money from the polluter, like at least for now in this case, because say the polluters are bankrupt, can't find them, then we have to fight over government money to clean it up, and there's not a lot to go around. But this area is obviously an environmental justice community. They're exposed to a lot of air pollution already. The freeway, as you can see, is right here. There's a lot of truck traffic in this area, not just because of that freeway, but because of the Port of Oakland, which is over there, and then we've got this whole centralized post office over there, and in the end, this area of Oakland just has really bad air quality. Especially in the more, in environmental justice neighborhoods, they often have higher lead contamination, maybe if they're, like I said, close to a freeway, and I think it's an issue that gets overlooked a lot. Children, they have higher high school dropout rates. It could be related to the lead. Higher incarceration rates. I actually saw a really interesting map of New Orleans. After Katrina, they tested the soils for lead, and in the poorer neighborhoods there was sort of like here really, really high levels of lead. And if you looked at a map of lead with a map of, like I said, incarceration rates, high school dropout, it was really, really direct. I mean, the correlation was really high.
When you look at diesel, you look at lead, it's like tobacco. The industry knew for decades that nicotine was deadly, but they fought for decades in court to deny it. The fuel industry knew since the mid-1950s that lead was a toxic, that was a public health toxic. But they fought until about 1968, denying that it was a problem. So these are known toxins. These things are well understood. but you know, the forces of industry, the forces of capital, don't want to pay for it. They don't want to. They don't want to absorb these costs to eliminate these emissions when these are absolutely part of the cost of doing business, right? These are what are called externalized costs. Get someone else to pay for it. So the way we get someone else to pay for it is through their health. We don't say someone should give me the money to clean up my industry. We say, well, no one will clean up the industry. The public will simply absorb this pain by being sick and dying. And, we don't put, we rarely want to put a number on that. But there is absolutely a dollar number there. Because it costs a certain number of people die, and it would cost a certain amount of money for them not to die. So there's a simple equation, right? And we should be asking industry and government, exactly how much am I worth?